basically when Car Throttle got sold, probably not supposed to talk about this, but oh well.
You only started your channel in February of this year. You got 40,000 subs in the first day, am I right in saying?
We're car balls, really.
When I got overtaken earlier, I got a very angry bib. It's because of that.
We built a channel that is cars that we grew up wishing we could mess around with.
You're the first guest, other than Taylor, that I've never found a bad comment on your YouTube channel.
They're all hidden.
We're militant. That's how it's done.
How much pressure did you feel when you put that first video out, when it first went live?
I mean, there was the...
I left in 2020. I took a voluntary redundancy out.
End of 2019, it was sold to a large media company called Dennis. They were already losing people because it was already quite a tough workplace. It was not corporate and then became very corporate very quickly. Then the fallout from that was that...
Guys, it's a pleasure. You were my first two-person ever podcast on Road to Success. And hopefully, because Royce has fixed the audio, one of the clearest ones around as well. You only started your channel in February of this year. Your channel has now had 40 videos that you've created. You've accumulated over 17 million views in that time and 280,000 subscribers in a year. So safe to say I'm jealous. But although people would have clicked on the video knowing exactly who you are and what you do, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
You started? From my start?
Yeah, you start. I think.
Well, we are Will and Edwin. We are... car nerds, more than anything. We're car balls, really. Yeah, no, it's just we're obsessed with cars, and we built a channel that is doing the sort of cars that we grew up wishing we could mess around with. That's kind of the answer. That's our only difference, really, to kind of anyone else.
Yeah, we sort of the cars that you probably would have liked to have bought.
Yeah,
we've gone. Do you know what? We've got a YouTube channel. Let's just buy them all.
Yeah,
try them all. So that's basically what we're trying to do. But yeah, car nerds trying to own and buy and drive every single car.
Yeah.
YouTube gives such an opportunity to car lovers to be able to do things but have a legitimate reason for doing it that you come up with in our wild brains.
Yeah.
But now YouTube's about, I think ideas are just going to get crazier and stupider and more madder over the years because it gives you an actual route to be able to do that stuff.
It's a job.
Yeah.
I heard one of you say in a video that you were like, I used to play this on the PS2 when I was growing up. And I think it was referenced to 370Z that you just had in one of the videos. I used to have this in the game.
Yeah.
So how old are you guys?
I've just turned 13.
You just turned 13?
I'm 27.
And you're both in this mad YouTube game. Did you ever think that that would happen when you were on that PS2 back in the day?
I genuinely not, no. Like, I always thought growing up, because I was always such a car nerd from like age 3. That was it. I never had football. I never had anything else. It was just cars. I always knew. I was like, I will do something with cars. Otherwise, I'm useless. There's nothing for me to do. So I know I'll do something. But I always thought I'll just end up like
from age 3.
Yeah. No, genuinely. And but I was like, I'll end up working in a garage, or I'll end up just doing something car wise. I never thought it would be, skidding around cars on the internet. That is the dream. That's the highest echelon.
But was that the same for you?
Exactly the same for me, yeah. I mean, to be fair, I did YouTube like early on when YouTube came out, or tried it, but it wasn't a job then. But even then, I then didn't do YouTube because you have to grow up and get a normal job and do whatever else. But even then, even with YouTube present, I still didn't quite think then that you could make that a job. It's Top Gear, isn't it, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
We would have both grown up watching Top Gear and going, well, that's the job.
Yeah.
But it didn't exist because Top Gear was the job.
And I think being from that same generation as well, I'm 25, so I grew up watching Top Gear. I wasn't quite PS2, but I was PS3. I was one behind. It was you always looked at Top Gear going, well, those are the only 3 spots in the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, if you do that, there's only 3 places to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And now there's hundreds, if not thousands of positions to be able to do that. And why I find that interesting with you guys is we mentioned the channel's only a year old. I would consider YouTube at the minute to be a really saturated space.
Yeah,
you've come in and your average views per video, let's be honest, are absolutely smashing it. The video feedback, I will be completely honest, this is not to gaslight you. When I do all my episode research for these podcasts, I obviously scroll down the comments on different videos, try and pick some randomly. You're the first guests, other than Taylor, that I've never found a bad comment on your YouTube channel.
They're all hidden.
Is that how
We're militant.
You say one bad thing, you're out.
But also because you've been going for that year, I want to give the audience a chance to actually understand how you got in that position to come into a game that is super saturated, have a channel that suddenly performs with lots of views, and be completely loved. This obviously isn't your first rodeo with YouTube. So you guys were both at Car Throttle before.
Yeah.
That obviously ended in the same way. Well, Alex went first, but how did you both get into Car Throttle? Do you want to start?
Yeah, so I started when I was at basically like when you're finishing up college in the UK, when everyone starts talking about jobs and stuff. I was like, oh wait, this is real. Like, I have to go into a job soon. I thought I'm going to start just messaging random people and seeing if I can get into places that I've liked for a while. And so I messaged a guy at Gumball 3000 called John Markar. And I said, just kind of cold emailed him and said, look, do you have any work experience? Can I come do it? Thankfully, they said yes. He then left and moved to Car Throttle, which I'd been following for years and years. And I said to him again, look, can I come this summer and do work experience? He was like, yeah, sure, you can come in. Did some work experience there, and I had managed to squeeze myself into a uni position for automotive engineering because it said the word automotive in it. So I thought I'd be good at it. I was shit at it. But they were like, do you want to make us coffees and teas and do like sales on the side? And I was a horrible salesman, but I was like, I get to work in an office full of people talking about cars. That's the dream. So I said yes. And yeah, it went from there. So I started in sales, got made redundant because I was shit at sales. And then while I was made redundant, I was helping out the social media team, just sending memes. Anytime something topical came up, I'd send it. And so Adnan, the CEO, about a month into my redundancy when I was out, was like, do you want to come back in for social media team? So I was like, yeah, cool. And then, then I was on the sidelines of social and YouTube. And that's kind of where I got my I'd learn, okay, this is how YouTube works. This is how people do stuff. This is what it takes to make a YouTube video. So it was very beneficial. We basically got to sit on the sideline and watch how it got made, so that when it was our turn, it was like, okay, I kind of know how to do this.
And you were first by a year at Car Throttle?
Yeah, I was.
Right.
2015 is when I started my experience.
And you were a year later?
Yeah, I was 2016, so I came in as an intern. I worked at Marks and Spencer's before, just in a warehouse, just doing regular job, because I didn't really have any qualifications to do otherwise. But I would always look for stuff on the side. I had no idea what I was looking for. I just knew it had to be something to do with cars. So I'd be on Indeed, and I'd just be like, car. Well, this just what comes up, and I would just scroll through every single page. I'm like, okay, I think I know pretty much every car job. Yeah. I've got to do one of these. It was like, I don't care whether I'm driving cars around for a dealership. I don't care what it is. And then this thing popped up for Car Throttle, and I knew Car Throttle because everyone of our age kind of knew Car Throttle from Facebook or YouTube or whatever. I thought, you know what, it's an internship, we'll give it a go. And they called me in, gave me the job. My CV is I actually didn't send a CV, I just sent an email saying how much I love cars. I really like the channel. I really want to work with you. And I hate that. I think it's so much, but I think Gab's still got it.
It came to me as well, because I was, for some reason in that sales thing, they were like, can you hire another intern? I think you applied for that one as well.
Oh, yeah, I did.
And I remember seeing the CV and being like, this is mental.
I think I tried to put something ridiculous like...
A kick to goat or something?
Yeah, no, I said something ridiculous. I said I own an F40 in the subject line. I thought, I want to try and I have nothing else to grab your attention for. I'm going to lie.
Yeah. I feel like that email needs to be on the wall, but it's
I have it somewhere in my emails as well, because it came to me as well.
God, I hope not. But yeah, internship, and then it was like a 3-month internship. I used to start work at M&S at 6, finish at 2, run to the train station, start at Car Throttle in London at 3, and then stay there till 7 o'clock doing whatever.
And then playing on the simulator.
Yeah. So I remember being pretty quiet. I just kept my head down. I was like, I just need to do work.
All of us deserve to be protected these days when browsing online. And that's why I use Surfshark across all of my businesses. I recently built another podcast studio 4,000 miles away in the USA. On the run up to the trip, I was using Surfshark literally every day to swap my VPN to a US one so that I could order parts off of Amazon USA. Not only was this good for me, but it's also good if you want to access content from other countries as well. Browsing online without Surfshark is like leaving the keys to the van on the roof and leaving it in a car park unlocked. You're at risk from thieves stealing all of your information. Surfshark is there to protect you against this and encrypts all of your data whilst running at ultra fast speeds. Surfshark has 3,200 servers across 100 countries, which means you can access any one of them to enjoy loads of content from around the globe. So if you want to stay safe whilst browsing online, make sure that you use my link appearing on screen now. www.surfshark.com/RTSP. Stands for Road to Success Podcast. With this, you will get an extra 4 months of Surfshark at an unbeatable price. And just to get you to try even more, it's completely risk-free because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee if you're not satisfied. So what are you waiting for? Hit that link, surfshark.com/RTSP, and go and grab yourself a great bit of safety and deal now.
I think the thing that shines through to me more than anything, which is probably a massive reason, one of many, but of the success of the channel, is even when we're trying to do integrations for brands, people keep using the word authentic. How authentic can you make everything you do? Now, as much as I do my best to try and sort of be as authentic as I can be, I'll still be the posh little kid from God knows wherever, and there's still 10% of the audience that will attack me for it and all the rest of it. But I'd say that you two are the epitome of authentic to get into what you've done and where you come from. Like to hear how you were just getting into Car Throttle, let alone presenting a YouTube channel that's getting the views that it's doing now, basically living out your dreams from Top Gear. That is a mad route, because I remember when I was growing up, we had a factory of guys who used to make walling for houses. And sometimes you go down the factory and there'd be all these programmes on TV like, Joe, if you just took them two that work on those presses and filmed them for a programme, like this would be insane in here because of what goes on. I kind of feel like that's what's happened, but it's been the universe that's kind of made it go that way. And also the AutoAlex multiverse, as it keeps being referred to. So when Alex left Car Throttle, what sort of seismic shift was that for everybody else that was there?
You kind of felt I'd left.
Yeah, I think you.
I had actually already left. I left in 2020 because of COVID, and I took a voluntary redundancy. I was like,
so for some context, so Car Throttle was owned by the founder, and then just 2019, end of 2019, it was sold to a large media company called Dennis. And then the moment COVID hit, they were like, cool, we're going to get rid of like half. They were already losing people because it was already quite a tough workplace. It was not corporate and then became very corporate very quickly. And, you know, knowing the AutoAlex multiverse, we're not a corporate bunch. You know, not much we say.
Just peed behind the limo in the corner, by the way.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it didn't go that well. And then the moment COVID hit, they were like, we're going to do redundancies. And there were 4 of us on social. So myself, Will, Jake, our manager, and a friend of ours called Edwin. They were like, one of you has to go. Someone is being made redundant from social, and you can choose. You can volunteer if you want. And so, we all were talking to each other, and Edwin was like, I'm gonna volunteer, and we was like, oh, I'll volunteer too. And I was like, well, they'll only take one. It'll probably be Edwin because he's a bit more junior,
which is what I thought.
Yeah, it came through. They're both gone, so it was just me by myself at that point. So I was like, they've left me alone. Everyone's gone. So it was a bit sad, but you weren't expecting either, right?
No, I mean, obviously, not that I wanted it, but I kind of did. I was like, this is the worst opportunity because it's the middle of COVID, but I was like, this is a paid way to leave and go and try something else for a bit. Because, again, the CT at the time was like, I don't know, it felt like there was a bit of a ceiling there and I just didn't like where it was going.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know what, let's go and try something else. And obviously did, and then it's sort of come full circle, really. But
so Alex hadn't quite left.
Yeah, so at that point, Alex hadn't left. And then a few months later, I think call it maybe mid-2020 or 2021, he decided to leave. And there wasn't a single person at Car Throttle who felt like, oh, what the hell? Everyone was like, that makes sense. Like, now's the time to do it. You've built a following, and to not then build that yourself and let a very big corporate company take all the goods from that doesn't make much sense. So we were like, this is fair, let's do it. But yeah, then the fallout from that was that a company who already didn't know what to do then saw kind of a vacuum in power of what Alex could. Obviously, Alex held a lot of weight to his words of this video will do well. Without him there, they kind of looked at us as like, oh, well, you guys are just kind of clingers on, so we'll tell you what to do. And it didn't do well at all because no one then had a chance to choose what was going on the channel, and was kind of just suits choosing, this would do well. Oh, you should do a sponsored video on this. It will do really well. And then it didn't do well, and they'd be like, what happened there? That's weird. Why are you getting 50,000 views on something? Which, as history has shown, has repeated itself on CT as well. Anytime someone who's not in charge of content goes in front of it, you get that result. So, yeah, there was a big change when Alex left, but none of us were upset, if that makes sense. We were like, this is good.
Did you ever feel that you would all come together again, though? Did you know that bit of that?
I didn't think so, no. It felt like CT at that point would become a relic. It would become the source of where everyone else is. Oh, you remember Car Throttle? That's where he came from. That's where he came from. That's where he came from. And everyone would kind of go their separate ways, which kind of did kind of happen. But then I didn't see it all
back together full circle.
Like when it happened, it was early this year. It's like, how's this happened? This is ridiculous.
Do you know, I did a podcast with Alex right after he set up AutoAlex, right after the Car Throttle departure. And coming back a year later to do not only Taylor, Rory, I'm trying to get in the back of the van as well. He's a fly, I know. But not only to do Taylor and Alex again, but also you guys. It's crazy how far it's all in a year. But there was some time then. Once Alex had departed, you were no longer there. You were. How did your end come at Car Throttle?
So we got sold again. So Dennis,
I didn't know there was another leapfrog.
No, there was so Dennis. They spun themselves off into an automotive only kind of section that was just, so they owned Evo magazine. Was it Car and Class? And basically, lots of big car publications. And they had bought Car Throttle because they were like, this will be our big like media partner who we can get views and things out of. And they spun us off into just an automotive only brand, and then went, actually, we should just sell you off completely because we don't know what we're doing. So they sold us off, I think, very cheap to a random other media owner, if that makes sense. He kind of owned a couple of brands. And at the beginning, it looked up. He kind of was like, here's some budget. Go away and make what you think should work on the channel. And stuff started to pick up. And then it instantly turned straight back to, actually, you don't know what you're doing. You should do this. Took away kind of all budget and all choice of what goes on the channel.
That's strange.
So I was like, you know what? If we're not basically put a stake in the ground saying no more old cars, no more buying things. You review new cars, and that's basically it. And I was like, well, if we're not messing with cheap shit cars, there's not much of a reason that I'm here. You kind of employing me for no reason here. All you're going to employ me to do is stand around and tell me that you're an idiot, and there's not much point in that. So I decided, I'm going to head off.
When you guys were together there, though, without getting too lovey-dovey, obviously back in the day, I remember from growing up, I've actually got a fantastic selfie of me and Alex when I was like 14 at Autosport. I remember it. So I've seen the journey that way from the start. And Alex and Ethan used to be the pair on Car Throttle when I grew up.
Yeah.
And Taylor and Alex, it's fair to say now, I've basically become that pair in the new channel. When you were together at Car Throttle, were you guys like as close as you are now? Was you like the same level?
Yeah, probably, if not slightly closer, because we would work. Obviously, we work together every day now, but we would work every day, every single day together. And then on the weekends, we would do the car stuff together. We probably do the weekend stuff slightly less now, because the weeks are so full of working on cars and stuff.
But no, but it was again, without trying to be too like Will is the first person I've ever met in my life who holds cars in the same regard as I do, where they're all consuming. It's every part of every day. I mean, you have genuine other interests. Like there are some other things that interest you, but when it comes to cars, we're both as like, right, let's get serious now.
Consuming.
We're talking about, this isn't a joke now.
We are talking about a boost bus.
Yeah. When it comes to Zephyrus, we're serious. So it kind of the moment, because you joined and you were on social team and I was still on sales. We never talked. It was like 3 or 4 months where I never actually interacted with Will once. And then I got made redundant, came back onto social on Will's team. And then we started talking. We were like, okay, we both, this guy likes cars, right? A wagon. We're both mad here. This should be good. And then, through doing like weekends of working on cars together and going and looking at horrible things for sale, we were like, okay, this is And it kind of in the office, it was kind of a known thing that if something was happening, it's probably Will and I doing something together, stupid.
Talking about cars.
Yeah, at some point.
But at that point in time, had either of you been on camera before, in front of the camera for any car stuff?
Well, actually, when we worked on the social media team together, we think about this sometimes where I hope and pray no one has ever seen these, but we used to make skits. It was like TikTok stuff before TikTok even existed.
You know, like 2016.
Sub 60-second long skits about car stuff, and they are unbelievably cringy, but they used to fly.
Yeah.
Because we used to make social media. Oh, we were pretty good. I don't want to blow my own trumpet or blow our own trumpet, but we were pretty good at social media. I mean, we did a 500 million, almost 500 million view month.
Half a billion views on Facebook alone it was like June 2016 or something. And that was I think we were like number 4 page in the world for views that month.
We were like just above Ed Sheeran or something.
Yeah.
I was like, this was wild.
And it was just us going through. Users would submit videos to this Car Throttle platform. We would edit them to however we thought was funny and then put it up on Facebook. And even some of the skits that we're in that we hope no one remembers have got like 20 million views.
Oh, it's insane.
Like single videos. I think it's Facebook, so you see stuff with 20 million views all the time. But even now, I look back at it, we're like, what the hell? Yeah. They would just give no budget. We had to film on like our phones, or like a GoPro that we had laying around.
So it was their idea.
No, it was.
They send in footage and then you would do stuff about that.
So we'd have like different types of content. People would send in footage that would be like a viral video. We would have to go through each video, pick out the viral ones and edit them. But then to kind of fill out the content, because we were very aware that it was becoming a page full of other people's content.
Yeah.
We're like, we need to try and give the social media side of this a bit of a face. Which is what we did with the skits. And I mean, it was like experience on camera. It was more, for me anyway, when I look back on it, it's more of an experience of social media, like retaining people, rather than like the experience of actually, being on camera, because we didn't really have any lines as such.
No.
And it wasn't natural, like talking about, stuff you're actually interested in. It was all very, very scripted. But it was more about, is this subject funny? Is that thumbnail good? Is that title good? Is this description going to work? And how well is this going to do, overall? Because they didn't earn any money.
No, not first.
So that is pure passion, though.
Yeah. And we were just tasked with get as many views as you can so that we can put in our stat decks that Car Throttle gets X amount of views a month. And if we did well, they were like, cool, you can do it again next month.
Which
that was
is
enough.
insane, because you mentioned a word there that is the first word I pick up on. It's really interesting that you've just told me about that skit thing, because your long form videos, the first minute, it's like a short form but long form.
Yeah.
It's like how I see ultra retention based videos on TikTok doing.
Yeah.
But you've built that into long form. Now, people don't understand about you large creators in the UK. We all understand retention to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I see it the best on your channel. I really, really do. Like, it's insane how that retention is edited. So maybe that's actually come from all the way back there. Then learning how to retain people.
I think also a massive part of that is you from Overdrive.
That was
because
army camp planning that.
Yes. I was going to say, so after your time at Car Throttle, since you left first, what happened after that?
I left Car Throttle and I worked with Living Life Fast.
Yep.
Ricky, because he lived in Slough, and so did I. So I reached out to him and said, look, do you want to do some work together? And actually, only up until recently, I kind of did bits on the side for him. So it was like, that was just different. I'd never really done videography and like editing longer videos. So I was like, because we'd been editing videos. The longest thing I think I'd ever done was maybe 3 minutes.
Yeah.
4 minutes. So then you get into YouTube stuff. It's like, oh, people want more. They want 10 minutes. They want 15 minutes. So I used to film lots of stuff like cinematics of cars and stuff. I just thought, I want to try something else. That kind of fizzled out after a while. And then what was it? Paddle Up. Yeah, I worked at.
I did see that. So Toby did some research for this, just to find other facts that I may not be able to find. Really. Yeah. I did actually see that on your history.
Yeah, Paddle Up was again. I left this work with Ricky, and I was self-employed in that time, and I thought, I like this. This is nice, being my own boss. And then I was like, after a while, I didn't really know what to do, so I went. Let me search for another job, and this job came up at Paddle Up, which was. I think still is. No, I think it was. It's gone now. Like an auction company for supercar stuff. It wasn't very well run.
No, I have that. The owner has some very amazing cars.
Yeah, he does. He does.
Very incredible cars, and they had a fantastic viewing facility.
Yeah. Oh, the place.
Great.
Yeah, an incredible facility. It's like they had they run car auctions, but it become car sales and car storage.
Yeah, it was.
There was a chill space to be able to watch Formula One, but none of the TVs ever lined up with the racing. When I went there, like one was a minute in front of the other, so you'd have all these people.
You went to.
I went to paddle at one.
We may have crossed paths there
for the Formula One day, and I remember being in like. This is no meanness to them at all. It's how it was, and it was a nice day. It was just. It seemed like the most amazing, ultra-modern scientific facility, but the most basic stuff was wrong.
Well, I will summarise Paddle Up in one. Again, I don't want to shit on them too much, but I'll summarise it. You've got all that facility. This is probably millions of pounds worth of stuff. Where would you keep your car keys, supercar keys? Would you keep it in the toilet, in the unlocked toilet? Because that's where they left them. Yeah. I remember being stunned. There was a $599 a Perta in there, £1 million. There was the...
no one would ever think of that, in all fairness.
But yeah, and so you go into the first building, into the toilet, which anyone could go into. Well, at some point, there were just builders in that room. And you go in there, just a box, and there was just a box of keys, unmarked keys. I looked at that, I was like... what's going on here?
I had a load of holiday to take from Car Throttle, and Will said, "Oh, they're looking for a videographer, a freelance videographer." So I was like, "I'll come do some videography there if you want." Went, and on my first day, they were like, "Yeah, can you go grab the keys?" Never met me before. Go grab the keys for the cars that are down in the toilet. Like, they didn't know me. They're like, "Yeah, you just have the keys to the F40 if you want." Could have nicked it. Could have walked out the door with it.
It was such a bizarre... I think of it as like a weird 6-month summer holiday I had. It's like a fever dream. I think back, I'm like, that just wasn't a job. That was crazy.
Prime sitcom. Like, it genuinely had sitcom. It was The Office, but in the UK. Oh, it was so good.
So then, how did this come about? How did the start of TDC come about?
I left Paddle Up, and again, I was on the search because this like industry we're in, it's like searching for a job to do with the YouTube side of it, which is kind of what I wanted to do, or at least the social media side of it, is hard. Unless you're going to, I looked at like car dealerships looking to do social media, and it's good, but you don't have the freedom to make content. And unless you go out on your own, which is what I considered, but, I'd never done that before, so why would I do that? Then, very, very lucky, there was a channel called Overdrive, or then it was called Driven Media, had started maybe 3 or 4 months before I saw this ad, and they were searching for a writer. I'm not a writer.
A lot of Formula One stuff, am I right?
The Driver 61 is there's like 2 channels. Driver 61 is the main one. Formula One, Overdrive was like the car version of that, basically. It started with the intention of sat in front of a screen talking about a subject, which you could kind of do 5-10 years ago, but now it doesn't really work. But anyway, I hired as a writer. Wasn't really a writer, but I had some experience in knowing how to retain people on social media. If you have that, I think you can go from there, basically. Wrote a bunch of videos, and then they wanted to go into like the live video stuff, like actually filming outside with cars, buying cars. And that was kind of how I learned the YouTube stuff. And that was a huge learning thing for me, because I understood what car people liked from the Car Throttle days. I was like, okay, these subjects, this is what car people like. But YouTube, there's another layer to that. You then need to cater to the people who kind of like cars, and the people who don't like cars at all, but you might try and get their view as well. Yeah, that was where I learned pretty much everything to do with YouTube at Overdrive.
And then you got the call from Alex that day.
Yeah, and I got the call from Alex after I got made redundant from Overdrive because that company wasn't making any money. They weren't particularly good with sponsors, unlike Alex, who's very good with sponsors. This is what, when you were talking about the Car Throttle thing, it's very, very difficult for someone who doesn't know the YouTube space very, very well to understand how it makes money. Everyone thinks, I'll have a YouTube channel and it will make money purely on the revenue. But you are going to struggle big time unless you've got a really, really good niche where you can sit in front of a camera and like the Overdrive stuff. There are no overheads, there are no anything.
Best one I've ever seen, and I think I know he is, but he must be making the most money in the UK because he gets the highest average views per video, but the lowest cost is Beats Food. Yeah. So exactly. And he'll bang out a video every week, and it'll be like 2.8, 3.5 million views a meeting. And half the time, if he finishes it, the food's free.
Even like Matt and Tommy. And if you know WTF1, obviously they started their own thing, but they do less videos out and about at F1 races. They do most of it streaming. So their overheads are just where you live, like your laptop and stuff like that. So with cars, it's like so hard to do that every week. You need to have cars in your videos, really. But that's
which even when you've got a Porsche Boxster and a 370Z in a video, and you're then trying to spend money on mods and all the rest of it. Your budget's like from what those videos can make and doing that. But somehow you guys are completely making it work, and you're getting a lot of views. So we mentioned how you got the call from Alex to maybe do it. So how did the name TDC come about? How did that initial concept of doing that come around?
We had that was naming anything. I think is possibly the most stressful thing ever.
So annoying,
because suddenly everything sounds shit.
Yeah,
everything. You say a name and it could be the best name ever, and you're like, nah, that's rubbish. Everyone's going to hate that.
And you like it. You go to sleep. You wake up and you're like,
no, it's rubbish. Yeah. Or you see it at a logo, and you're like, nah, that's rubbish now. I had a list of names from Overdrive. Had to change name when it was Driven Media because a bigger company came along and said, we're called Driven. You can't be called Driven. So we had to make this massive list of names. So when we needed a name for TDC, I was like, right, back to the list of names. Listed it out, and Top Dead Centre was in there, and we were called sort of just like, that's quite good.
And we both, because we were sitting with Rory and Alex, and Will and I have both said, if we think we like it, let's just leave it there and choose it and just go with it. Because if we sit on it and go, maybe we do this, we'll end up not choosing it and we'll end up with something worse. So literally the first thing on the list, we went Top Dead Centre.
Doesn't that refer to the positioning? Because I'm very not good with anything. But the positioning of a piston.
Yes, correct.
It needs to be top dead centre.
Yeah, it's a time and engine. When the engine is at the top of the first piston, that's Top Dead Centre.
So that was early though, this year still.
That was next year. So it was
January.
Yeah, I hadn't quit until 3 days before it began.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, no, so I decided I wanted to quit, but I had basically, when Car Throttle got sold, probably not supposed to talk about this, but oh well. We had a 3-month, what do you call it? I can't remember.
Oh, gardening leave.
Yeah, like a notice, 3-month notice. So we had to stay for 3 months. Basically Alex and Will and I were all talking about this, and Alex was like, but if you quit today, you still have 3 months before you can start the channels. It's a bit long.
And I had no job.
Yeah, so Will was like,
shit, I had to get moving.
can we go? And so, knowing the relationship I had with the owner, I said, I don't think he'll want me sticking around for months. Yeah. So it turned out my notice was 2 days in the end. Yeah. So I quit, and then the next week we were going.
The bit that I don't want to skirt over is, so who said, you two, long form videos, bang, just go and do it. Off you go. This is the idea.
Well, I mean, we had discussed it loosely before. So, I got made redundant from Overdrive, and the Overdrive was a 500,000 subscriber channel, and it was, as far as I was aware, about to become redundant. So there was a bit of a grey area that was like, what's going on with this channel then? I inquired about buying it, and then it just didn't work out because the guy who owns it just wanted some ridiculous sum of money. And in the midst of buying that, trying to buy it, I also spoke to Edwin, because I was like, that would be great if we can buy a channel and then me and Edwin do it together. That would be great. Lost kind of all hope on that, and then Alex called me, and so I think he mentioned this in your podcast as well. He called me and said, what's going on with Overdrive? I was like, what is going on? I said, basically, I told him I've been made redundant, tried to buy it. I don't think anyone's going to be interested in it. And he said, I might be interested in it. I was like, okay, interesting. I had genuinely assumed he just wanted to buy the channel, that I was of no interest of it. I thought he just wants the channel to buy to make a second channel or whatever. And then he was like, would you want to stick around if I buy it? I was like, yeah, that would be nice. And he said, and if you had a second presenter, who would that be? I was like, well, I'd probably choose Edwin. Obviously, you were at CT at the time, and it was like, but I said there wasn't anyone else I would have thought of. It would have been, yeah.
But we had, like, the thing is, even after Will had left, it was COVID time as well, so we were playing Warzone every single night, like, together within our group group of friends. But we had said multiple times, like, throughout the years, it'd be cool to just make videos on cars together, because we both whenever Will would be like, if I had $5,000, I'd go and buy this, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't mind that, but I think I'll go buy this. And then we'd always be like, there's a video there alone in the differences of what we like, because we're quite similar, but we also argue about everything. So we're like, it's good content. So we'd always joked and kind of planned to do something at some point, and then Alex just kind of got the ball rolling and was like, do you actually want to do it? And we're like, yeah, all right, cool.
It's really weird how it timed up, because obviously, again, because of the channel, like your relationship at CT wasn't great. I'd been made redundant, but also at the same time, completely unrelated, someone we used to work with thought of also starting another channel. I mean, also he had seen what happened with Overdrive, so it was all kind of like a bit of a domino effect. But just really bizarre. And then he tried to buy Overdrive as well. Didn't happen because he wanted a ridiculous number. And then he just said to us, "Why don't we just start from scratch?" Because it's something we thought of as well. Because we were like, why would we spend, let's say, £60,000 on this YouTube channel when you could invest £60,000 into a new YouTube channel? Because if you start off with 60 grand, you've got 500,000 subscribers, but you've got nothing to make any content with. Whereas if you put that money into making content, you're probably not going to be far away from that subscriber number anyway.
Yeah.
And less than a year, we're not far off 300k. So I think that gamble is
we always
kind of as expected.
We always said that we thought with with what we'd learned, we could probably stack the game a little bit in our favour to build it.
So it seems like obviously at different points you've always been looking for the next thing, or you've been a bit nervous, like is that going to happen or what's going to happen? Maybe redundant. Like this journey seems to have just jumped from one bit to another. How much pressure did you feel when you put that first video out, when it first went live? Like, how's this going to do?
Yeah. I mean, there was the benefit of having Alex behind us.
Yeah.
Like, it was nice to know we have his unit to use. He will give us like a shout out, and there will be people that already like him enough that they'll probly give us a chance.
You got 40,000 subs in the first day, am I right in saying?
And we were laughing the night that we were going live. Rory said to us, like, "What are your predictions?" And I remember saying, if we can get 10k subs in the first month and 100,000 views off this first video, I think I think we can build from there.
I think we got it.
Yeah. And then overnight we were like, I remember saying to you, like, yeah, we can do this. This will be we'll be able to make something work with this.
It was almost more stress. It's great. It takes a weight off your shoulders that it's done well. But then you're like, shit, there's some expectation.
Yeah,
it's like if we did 10k on the first video, we're like, cool, that's the target, 10k a week. Oh, cool, run with that. Now it's like, 300,000-400,000 views every week. But
so has that genuinely surprised you, the level that you're currently getting? Because the thing with YouTube is everything's there for us all to see. Like with the things now like ViewStat, Mr. Beast tools and all the rest of it, we've all got a prying eye into everyone's channels, what everyone's going on, all the rest of it. Everything's very exposed on YouTube. But it's a good place to be when you're doing the views and that the video's doing as well as they're currently doing. And that's within a year. So where do you think this is going over the next year?
Yeah, I mean, the growth has been obviously slowed down a bit because I think we had a bit of a honeymoon period where we started where everyone's like, "Whoa, this is a new channel starting off new." But now we're getting into, we will have a difficult period at some point. The views might drop off. It'll be whatever. But I think I'm confident that we're good enough and we know not enough about YouTube that we can stay on top of it most of the time.
Yeah.
Which might sound a bit big-headed, but that was why I'm very surprised how well it did and how well it's still going. But in a way, I'm also not, because I know we're doing the right. It's not by accident.
No, exactly.
We're putting things have been put in place. Things happen at every single video that mean those numbers happen, and there is still improvements to be had on that as well. So
yeah, I was going to say, like, again, not to sound cocky or big-headed, but there are times where even we will look at 300,000 views and go, I was expecting that to do more, because we thought, okay, there's a really good idea, there's a really good facet of this video that should, hopefully YouTube pushes it out. That to some people they'd be like, well, you're a bit of an asshole if you think 300k isn't great. It is amazing.
You get your first million view video and be happy with it for 2 days.
Exactly.
Why didn't it do 2?
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's also, I don't think there'll ever be a video that we're like, that's perfect, I'll leave it there.
The limo video.
Yeah, the limo video
is not far off. But the limo video, that's again, is a video we love, but it hasn't done that well.
No.
Well, but it's done okay. Again,
exactly.
Sounding
the squeaky leather on the seat when you're moving around.
But that video hasn't performed in comparison to some of the other stuff. So, and the video itself is very good, but obviously there is something missing there where it hasn't performed to the same state as others.
So how did you, when you sat down, not even a year ago, and you're thinking about what type of content you were going to do, and you mentioned, wouldn't it be great if I had a £5,000 budget, and you had a £5,000 budget, and we go and build a car? Were you trying to be purposely different to all the other channels out there, or did you just look at it and go, this can be done better?
I think to an extent, because car YouTube in general, but for what we know, car YouTube is so saturated. So many people, and I'm not saying people need to stop doing it, but it's so many people think, I will just go on YouTube, buy a car, and I will be doing car YouTube. Yeah. I'm now a car YouTuber. You do need something that differentiates you from the rest. And to be fair, actually, our content's quite similar to lots of YouTubers. We are buying cars, we're buying cheap cars, but we try to add a bit more to our content. There's either we have the difference in our opinions. We have that we would buy a different car given a different budget to another YouTuber. We also have less budget than some YouTubers as well. We're not buying Matt Armstrong level cars, but we did a Matt Armstrong type build with the 911. So it's about we're trying to be as authentic as is physically possible.
Yeah, I think,
while still appealing to everyone.
The 911, that concept has been, in Matt's example, has been done 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And it's not that we were trying to even capitalise on that. It was more that car was to show people we're into cars. Like, we're here, we want to build this car because we want to, not because it's trendy for YouTube. But then take, for instance, where we bought each other cars.
Yeah.
That's something that we know that not that other people can't do, but because we know each other so well, we know there'll be something funny in there because Will genuinely didn't know I was going to go out and buy him a Zafira. I genuinely didn't know he would get me a Crossfire. But then it works because we know each other so well. You know, if you put two random people together, they can't do that, which is what we thought, well, there's a bit of a USP here and we can be a little bit different to everyone else. And also, because we're so close to Alex, it would be very easy to become very similar to him.
Yeah.
So there was
That's the bit that I find really fascinating.
Yeah. There is a conscious effort to a degree to do something a little bit different than Alex does, because we have such a big crossover in viewers. We don't want them to go, well, I'm just watching the same video twice here. So
we did start out. We did, again, not that. I think the way we launched was bad. There were a few videos we started out with, and they were very similar to
absolutely
how Alex might do a series. Because I think in a way we were a bit like, we should kind of launch like this because of, this is who's backing us and that kind of thing. And after 2 or 3 videos, we were like, we should just do it exactly how we would do it. And I think that's worked out.
Yeah, no, I agree. Fully
as well as it could.
If you need help with your digital marketing, then you need to click the link in the description and get in touch with me. I have my own agency, Tweak Marketing, which is here to help you take steps forward with your business. We specialise in design, websites, PPC, SEO, ways to help you grow your business. We deal from small clients all the way up to global companies and are ready to take on any project that comes across our desk. I hope you enjoy this episode.
What do you think about the way that Alex is running all the gear top dead centre as brands underneath the AutoAlex multiverse, as the word keeps being thrown around all the time, multiverse, but I do love it. The thing, if you look at a barbershop and people have chair rent at a barbershop, a barber tries to keep everybody in the shop, eventually some of the people that are cutting more hair than others go off and open their own barbershop. And when I look at the concept, I think that looks fantastic, Alex, and all the rest of it. But that's going to be damn hard to keep all the players in the barbershop, because you have channels like yours that is running off into the stratosphere under a year and getting enormous amounts of views. What is it that you achieve by being under this umbrella now that's so important to the success of the channel?
One of the reasons that it was so attractive to start with, and why it still is quite useful now, really quite useful. Please stay, Alex. But it was the sponsorship side of it, especially, because that was part of the reason why where we had come from hadn't done so well.
Absolutely.
And it's not what we do. We don't do sponsorships. It's not easy to do that.
As I said, whereas salesman.
Whereas we have had, you said we've had 40 videos. Everything but one. Because that's the first video we did, and that's because you can't really put an ad in the middle of. So I was made redundant, and this video is sponsored by. Every single video has been sponsored, and that is a game changer in terms of how running this as a YouTube channel.
Sustainability.
And also, we're not necessarily worried about that as such. Obviously, we are. We are still worried about that. No one wants to lose a job or it'll go down the pan, but it's taken off of our shoulders. Alex has all of the contacts ever and can go, right, this has been sponsored, and we've just rolled from there. And
it's also part of the reason why the content's as good as it is, because it takes that weight off us, and it's just, you go make something good enough for me to sell, or for us to work out someone to sell it to, and then you get to sell it to them. So it works on both sides. But in your example, I think, of the barbershop, I think Alex understands, especially from when he left, that there is nothing to stop anyone from doing it. So your best opportunity to stop it is let people do what they want. If they're going to leave, they're going to leave. We saw it at Car Throttle lots of times where people would go for greener pastures. And that was when Car Throttle was the best it could be. in theory, there's nothing that could have stopped that person then. So if you can't stop them, why, throw up roadblocks or try and, slow them down? Because they'll find a way to do it.
I think here, though, from someone that takes in a lot of the content, and Toby that's helping out with the podcast today as well, absolutely, the whole multiverse is the favourite channels that Toby watches. And something that shines through is when you just see that little lap over of like Taylor and Rory coming and all the rest of it, it does seem that you guys are kind of one strong unit here.
Yeah.
Now, talking to those boys as well, because they have had similar authentic journeys to get to kind of where they've got to in front of the camera, what I want to hear about is what's like been this year a moment where you've been driving somewhere, maybe in the car, there's a camera rolling out the boot of a Land Rover in front of you. Have you had that moment where you just gone home and you just can't comprehend this is your job?
Yeah.
There's been a few of those. Some of them not quite as glamorous as that. The limo was one.
I was going to say the same thing. I was driving home. To be honest, it might sound a bit wet or whatever you want to call it, but most nights I drive home and I have a conscious thought of, this is crazy that I get to do this. Like I feel very thankful very often that I get to mess around with my mates.
Yeah.
Doing something that is work in inverted commas. But yeah, limo is one.
Off-road, actually. We did an off-road series, and I was driving an MG or Rover, with no doors, in a wetsuit, driving through puddles, doing handbrake turns around corners, and chasing Edwin down. I was like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. This is, as a job, this is insane. And yeah, again, another video that didn't do that well.
No,
but it was a moment where I was like, this is like, the fact that this is a job is wild.
I think that is creativity, or not out of control is the wrong word, but you just can't help it moment.
Yeah.
I had a similar thing where my main YouTube channel was about building my fishing net and all the rest of it. I'm trying to now do videos on Gertwings and all sorts. But I was led in bed one night. I had this idea to take a fisherman that could cast 270 yards, which was like an eighth of a mile, and drag race them against my Lamborghini the runway. Yeah. And I was like, this video's 20 million views. We've absolutely smashed this. This is viral. It's going to beat Car Wow. I'm going to be the... And it was 10 out of 10. It's absolutely horrendous, but still, the memory of doing that video was like, only YouTube has made this possible. It gives it a reason, a purpose, an ability to make it work, all the rest of it. Granted, I gave that particular sponsor another video to go in. It didn't do as well, but it was a route to an ability to do something.
Yeah.
But that was just one idea. You guys have always got to come up with the next idea for the channel. So how many videos ahead? How much planning? How many ideas of shit to go have you still got to go?
Well, we've got, in terms of like a list of ideas, we have a Slack channel. Yeah. It's just for ideas, and there's some of the videos in there. Ideas are ridiculous.
Yeah, I don't really make any sense.
They're really dumb.
Go on, you've got to tell us.
I'll pull off.
I'd quite like to.
One that I liked quite a lot the other day.
If you got signal on this van, I'll be in.
We got a bar zone.
I got a bar 4G. Let's pull up the.
I'd quite like to find out what the fastest religion is.
That's quite like that.
It's an old Top Gear segment. I just want to get just some religious. The leaders in their religions. In one car.
Yeah.
Send them around a track. I will say, who is the fastest religion? Top Gear have done it, but then that's the kind of video. I was like, do you know what? That's a great idea. But you put it out. It's 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
But everyone says you're horrible.
It's something that Rory says quite often, and there's sometimes he's like, just don't worry. You'll get some views on it. You'll get enough views to please the sponsor. Do one that you want to do.
Yeah.
But whereas our brains are so wired to be like, no, it just needs to build. It needs to be more and more and more and more. So sometimes there are times where we're like, let's just make something we want to make. Like the limo. We've been wanting to do a limo for years and years. Like at CT, I remember asking Alex, can you buy a limo? I want to watch you do a limo video. And he was like, no, I'm not buying a limo. But one that I love the idea of that's really dumb, there was an Instagram video of a guy playing like Call of Duty or something, and he gets killed and he's got a band behind him that plays live music as a reaction. And so we hired a band to react to working on cars.
Yeah.
So like if you slip and scuff your knuckles, they play like wah, wah, wah. It's dumb. I want to do it. I know it'll probably get no views, but it's funny.
We do want to try more like random, like big ideas. Again, they're risky. They're far more risky because we know we have a formula that gets 300,000 views a week, and we know we can do that. But we are still watching
the
that
head-to-head stuff. Like I've got this, you've got that. We've done that for each other.
But we also know that if we keep doing that, people are going to get bored of it. So you do want to find. That was one of the problems that Overdrive had where I came from, where they were the opposite way. We were always searching for a viral video rather than actually caring about just doing car stuff. Whereas we're the opposite direction. We're like, we'll do the car stuff because we enjoy it, and I think that comes across on camera, but then we try and insert some viral bits in there as well.
I think what I'd love to see somebody do, because it's based off of experience, is I've been lucky enough to drive, like do a European road trips in supercars and go through the Alps and stay at 5-star hotels. I did it with Supercar Driver for argument's sake, like driving holidays. But I've always been fortunate enough that my dad, bless him, he used to do charity rallies throughout Europe. So I've done the whole like £500 Jag on exactly the same road trip on exactly the same roads, and the enjoyment that I had out of that shitbox compared to being in a supercar was unparamount. And I'd love to see a video which is like shitbox versus supercar road trip, like all the budget in the world goes there, and do like a happiness factor. Who's actually happier at the end of this road trip? Maybe you could strap like a brain thing or something like that. I don't know how you'd measure it.
Get a psychologist or something to take actual readings.
Just do a test at the end.
Are you happy?
The other problem that I see is where we're currently recording the podcast today, being a lot of the videos where all your workshops are, we've got the yard outside, there's been constant movement. When I got here, the toilets were being worked on, so it was a case of pee in the bush. And someone said, I'll go and pee in the bush behind the limo, and they put it in the corner, and I couldn't actually see the limo. The limo has been parked inside the hedge. There's no other way to. They've trimmed the hedge in a way that the limo fits underneath. The hedge is on top of it. Space is becoming a bit of an issue.
I think we're all chronic hoarders. Because the issue is if we bought cars that we needed at that time, it'd be fine. But there's Rory's got his Jag here, but he's also got his Range Rover here that he's bought. Taylor's got his Peugeot here and also his M5. I've got my daily and then also the 911 that I bought. No one brings their cars home. So if you got rid of everyone's duplicate cars, there might be enough space, but we'd fill it then the next week with stuff.
Right, this is then a question that I really do need to ask both of you, because I've just been away with Taylor and Alex, who were all at SEMA. I was lucky enough that one of those days we went out into the desert, we took a C8 and this, and Taylor's, I really like you, Ben. Do you know what, I was just wondering, your barn that you've got in your field.
Yeah.
And I just thought I'd go, it's fine, no worries. Yeah, you can put some cars in there, it's fine. And I thought it'd be one of those things when we got back, he'd never say another word about it. He has been on me on WhatsApp. Like, have you got a video of how big the barn is, like that you've got in your field?
I'm interested, Ben. How big is it? Because I need to put some cars away.
Is it roughly 28 feet long?
I'm taking £100 a month, £100 here. £200 a month.
Let's get it in there, because we're all running out of space big time.
The amount of cars that you all now have between you is quite frankly incredible.
It's almost impossible to calculate, because you look around and you're like, whose are these cars? Like, so some of them you could probably look at and go, I actually don't know whose that is. There's a boat out the back. It's just a boat, just a random boat. And the thing is, because it's out the back, everyone goes, it's out of sight, it's out of mind, just a boat.
You've had your, apologies if I've missed the video, it's happened for you, but I see that you also had one where you fell in love with the 370, am I right, and you just wanted to keep
Which is the one I bought, Why
did you not fall in love with that Boxster? I've always wanted.
I did see Boxsters, because I've got the 911, so I bought the TDC 911, and Boxster, that car though is. We also decided, because Ben, our videographer, adores that car. He is a Porsche man, and a Boxster is like, he'd be happy with that car. And he was like, can I buy that, guys? And we were like, no, I don't think you can, because it's too nice for you. It's too nice for us, if that makes sense. Like, it's not a car. It's above our level of normal car. Like, we usually have the cheapest, shittest car, and somehow that car was the cheapest, but it's like a nice one. Like, it's like a really good one.
So you've got it?
Yeah. I think we're going to give that one away.
I think we might.
It's too nice. You haven't seen it. That's the way getting alignment. It's the new wheels that it's sat on.
With
the new wheels. That's next video.
That is like my under £5,000 budget. Take a car on a road trip. So that is exactly what I'd go and look for.
Well, that's what we're doing on Monday. We're taking those cars on a little UK road trip, and we've got the skid pan at Thruxton as well to do in them. So that'll be fun.
So I don't know either of your family situations currently, but what do your parents think of what you're doing now?
It's quite funny. So my dad left school when he was like 12 and just started doing his own work, and like went bankrupt like 3 times trying to build businesses, failing, and then managed to build a business that worked really well for him. So he's always been of the ilk that he's like, I don't care what you do, just do it well, just find a way to do it properly. So whenever I told him even about Car Throttle, I said, I'm not going to go to university, I'm going to do this. He was like, if you think there's a career in it, let's do it, just go for it, it's cool. And now he watches a lot of YouTube. So he's like, the other day he was like, what's that Ben guy, he's in a van, and I'm like, Ben Fowler, and he's like, that's the one. He'll come to me as if I've never heard of these people. I'm like, yeah, I know, we work with them. And he's like, have you ever heard of this guy? Yeah, Matt. I'm like, Matt Armstrong. And he's like, yeah, he's building cars as well. I'm like, yes, mate, I have. But so now he's into like YouTube stuff. He's like, yeah, it's cool. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad it's cool. So,
and that's the viewer you want, because it sounds like that's the viewer that doesn't understand how to click through the video.
Oh no, yeah,
it's there from the start to the end.
Yeah. On the advert.
What about you?
I'll watch all that. I mean, again, my parents are pretty loose with it. They don't really, not that they don't care, but they're just, as long as it's going all right for me, they're not too bothered. And I'm lucky, both my mum and my dad are quite young, so they understand YouTube, but it's kind of like, I understand this is kind of, it can be a job. And again, my dad watches YouTube all the time. He's always it's similar to you. Like, he's coming to me with ideas. He's like, I watched this guy the other day, you should be doing that.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, cheers, Dad. Yeah.
Would you ever put your dads in a video?
I always think about this. I do think it would be quite, because they, as different and similar as we are, they are completely different. I think they would be quite funny together. Yeah. So at some point it might be quite funny.
They met not briefly, sorry, we went to Silverstone.
Oh yeah, of course they did.
And they both came to that, and they were talking, because your dad was looking at an R8.
Yeah.
And my dad was like, what do you want a V8 R8 for? And they were just, you could just see them.
Yeah, they were both just like, he was like, no, well, I think it's a good investment. And so dad's like, that's shit, so that's good. Like they're both like no bullshit type of guy.
You can see how that's come down into the
Even my dad said, we got in the car, my dad was like, Edwin's dad's nice. I don't know why he wants a V8 R8.
Yeah,
though.
and then my dad was like, well, I don't know what kept going on about the V8.
For two humble chaps that have got to where you both got to, one question I will ask is, with so much love on the channel, and it seems to be that it's gone right to get to, and these steps have fallen into place, and there's been some great timing. If you had to battle a barrage of negative comments right at the beginning of this YouTube channel and push through that, do you think it'd still be where you are? Or do you think the kind of love that you have carried you? How do you think your personalities would react?
I think
to that.
The fact that there were positive comments definitely helped. Like, any YouTuber that tells you they don't check a comment is a liar.
Yeah, 100%.
They do, and equally, bad comments get to you. You'll read a million good comments and then see one bad one, and you're like, well, no, actually, that's not true. It gets to you, but the fact that it was so positive definitely helped at the start. Mm-hmm. But when we were doing those skits on Facebook, Facebook is ruthless. Mm. Facebook holds no bars. The amount of horrible comments that you will go through on any Facebook video, let alone imagine one that has 20 million views, is soul destroying. So I genuinely believe, at least on my end, I'm immune to basically all Facebook comments now. I tend to, when I see one, I'm like, cool, man. You didn't like it, but the analogy I like to use is a restaurant analogy. Let's say you go into a restaurant, you really enjoy the food. How often do you go, please, can you let the chef know it was really, really good? You don't. You pay and you leave and you come back the next week.
You expect a certain level of...
You're happy with it. Whereas, let's say you go in and it is the worst food you've ever had and the waitress comes over, you're probably likely to go, I can't eat this, can you send it back, please? You're far more likely to give negative feedback before you give positive feedback. So anytime I see a negative comment, I'm like, fire, you didn't like it. 300 other 1,000 people that watched it, they didn't leave a bad comment. They moved on with their day and they were happy with it. So, oh well, can't please them all.
Yeah, I think I always try to think it's almost impossible to think like it all the time. Yeah. Sometimes you hear something and that someone says, and you're like, what do you say that for? Well, still, if you look at, we get, let's say, 1,000 comments on a video, let's say, but like on a 300,000 view video, That's a very small amount of people in terms of like that is a small minority, and that's why it's even good to think about that from the positive comments. Like, these are positive comments, but people can get consumed by those positive comments and go, we're doing all the right things. How many times have you seen on a car YouTube channel, if it's got more than 2 people on it or more than one person on it, the comments that are like, this is the new Top Gear. Yeah. These guys are the new Top Gear, and then you see that channel become consumed by the fact that we are the new Top Gear. And you then have to remember that is probably only a few hundred people out of hundreds and thousands of people that are watching your video.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you have to kind of level yourself and go, you know, we're not God, we're not, you know, it's really, really nice we're getting positive feedback and we love it, but there's always more we can do to please more people. You know, there are people out there that won't even bother commenting. They might comment on other videos, but they look at ours and go, got nothing to say here, so I'm moving on.
The as 2024 as it sounds, the analytics are the best way to tell.
Yeah.
You know, you might have 400 comments on a video that are all positive, but it's 10 out of 10. It's the worst retention you've got. That's what tells you the real story. Those 400 comments are appreciated, and it is a vanity thing to look through and go, I'm glad I made your day by making this video, if that's what you feel. But if the video is not doing well, that's you should look at the analytics before you go, well, there was 4 comments on that video that said they didn't like it, so they must not like it.
But as much as you two say that you think, and part of me thinks that this is the still humble centres in the core speaking here, trying to say the right thing, that you're going to plateau at some point, there's going to be this, all we've seen from the outside is answering at the same time after I finish the question.
Here we go. 4.
Do you think you will be the biggest channel in the AutoAlex multiverse this time next year?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we could. Yeah, if we
this time next year, 100%.
Yeah, because, and we've said this with Alex and Rory before, is that Alex is at I'm really jealous. He's at the stage where he just wants to do the things he wants to do. Like he's driven. Rory's more driven by it, and if you have Rory on, you'll see that come through. Rory, don't watch this. Turn this off if you're watching. Rory's incredibly smart about YouTube. He knows he's the one who is pushing we should be doing this, we should be doing this. Whereas Alex is, I want to have fun with my mates.
Yeah.
Whereas I think we're still in the mindset of how do we make this YouTube channel the best YouTube channel it can be.
You have to manage Alex. I learned this when you were away. We went to the edge of the Grand Canyon, and he stood on this little piece of stone that was coming out from the edge of the Grand Canyon with a mile drop below him. And I was like, Alex, you have kids.
Yes.
But no one seems to be able to tell him, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
He does what he wants to do.
No, yeah, but it's because he has paid his dues. You know, he did CT for 10 years, and Alex built that channel from nothing to, regardless of what it is today, a 3 million sub channel. So he's done that part where it's fight for the most views and the most retention at that point. He's on the bit that he prefers now, which is, you know, mess around but still get views, but do what he wants to do. Whereas I think because we're still motivated to just try and get as many as possible. We're probably.
I think there's definitely been a. I don't know if they would admit this, but I think there is obviously competition.
I was about to say, is there any friendly competition?
100% there's competition. When there was a series we did really, really well on, and we were doing basically as well as they were, and we're like, we're doing as well as you are now. So
and Rory came in, he was like, I had to see you guys doing quite well on that. Yeah, he was trying to be all sly about it.
But it's a good thing because we can kind of come together and go, you know, they can look at stuff we do and go, okay, you're doing that differently. We never realised that was a thing.
Yeah.
And the same as what we learned from them. Obviously, we've already worked with them before anyway, like in the same workplace, but we can both take things from what we both do. So I think it's competitive, but in a really, really good way. Because again, we're going to think, they just posted this. Because again, we're doing the same stuff.
Yeah,
we're in the same space. So if they might go, we don't know what they're doing. If they go out and buy a 350Z, we'd be like, oh.
Does your editor or editors just edit for your channel?
Yeah, Ben is just art. So Ben, our editor, was with us at Car Throttle.
Okay.
So at Car Throttle, before I decided to leave, there were 4 of us. There was Jack, Ethan, myself, and Ben, our editor. And when I left to start TDC, I said to Ben, look, basically, we had all kind of spoken to each other, and I said, look, I'm leaving. And Jack and Ethan were like, well, if you're leaving, I'm probably leaving as well. And Ben was like, well, what am I going to do? I'm an editor. So I said, Ben, if you want to come with us, we're going to need an editor. And he was like, cool. So he came with us. So Ben has been with us from day one, and he is our everything. He does our videography. We have Mike now as well, who will help on stuff as well, who you met today. But since the beginning of TDC, it has been one videographer, one editor.
And they are so hard to find.
Yo, exactly. A Ben is a gold dust, you know. So that's why since the start, we've been like, Ben, whatever you want to do, you come with us.
That's interesting because I actually thought there was some crossover. I thought like the editing team maybe crossed over for all the channels.
Sort of, but like for the most part. Like sometimes like if a video needs putting together, Alex has like a freelance, or Alex and Rory have a freelance network and it goes to them. But the core feel part of the video, like the big edit, comes from
Ben. Yeah, 99.9% of anything you've seen on TDC has been filmed and put together by Ben.
So what is, for the kind of conclusion of this, what is the thing that you both are most looking forward to that you think is coming over the next year or future?
1 million subscribers.
Is that a thing that would matter? Because some people try and play numbers off as, no, that wouldn't matter. The numbers, I just want to make the videos and it's the views that pay, blah, blah, blah. Would that matter?
It would, yeah, because again, it's a vanity thing and you get a nice little gold plaque from YouTube, but it's nice.
It's a milestone.
It's a physical reward for all the hard work as well.
And also, coming from companies where we weren't there at 0 subs, it feels different now, at least to me. Whereas I was there at 0. If I'm there at 1 mil, we did this. We were there from start to finish. That's a cool metric. For me, it's one of the things I'm most thankful for is we've worked out that giving away our cars, raffling them, does quite well. And it's allowed us to get some budget that we wouldn't usually have, which has allowed us to, like the Porsche and the 350, that's a good chunk of budget to buy that we probably wouldn't usually do. They would be a bit out of our range. Whereas doing those raffles means that we can kind of up the budget a bit more, because there are only so many £500 cars you can buy. You know, people will get tired of the same Mark IV Golf 1.8 or, you know, Citroen Saxo that's shit.
Yeah.
You can do that so many times. I'm looking forward to getting to a point where we can each go out and spend 10 grand and get really enthusiast cars and test those. That's cool.
So on that then, and I think this is the kind of cherry on top of the cake to show both of your personalities and the difference that they are with cars. What is your I've made it car, and what is your I've made it car?
I've made it car. Whoa. Now, annoyingly, there's probably one very similar one.
Yeah, it's both of us. Largo.
Is it?
Yeah, that's my dream. But one of the first things that made me into cars, got me into cars, I went to a friend's house and a truck pulled up outside and his dad was being delivered a new car. And I vividly remember this. I was 3.5 or so. And the back flopped down and it was the front end of a silver over black Ferrari 550 Maranello. And pulled it out, and it was the first Ferrari I'd ever seen. My dad had talked about Ferraris. I knew that they were special. I watched Formula One. I remember seeing it and thinking, that's it. That's the way you've got to work to. So I'd love to own the cheapest one. I want a tatty, cheap, like a horrible.
Or that one.
That one would be great. That would. My mate and I still talk. His dad sold it. He's like, I will find that car one day and buy it back and make enough money to buy it back. But yeah, a tatty 550 would be. That'd be so cool to buy. But 8 Series is that was my goal, and I got one.
Yeah,
so that's where I was at.
Yeah, a 6.2, any Murcielago actually, or actually something I've been thinking about a lot recently is a Gallardo. Again, like they're getting up to that sort of money where it's like, it could be doable, but if I was in one of those,
you talk about like how many £500 budget challenges you could do with the cars. But me and my dad used to say, as far as like, because we got to the point where we were both able from like various businesses to buy a supercar, for argument's sake. People were like, how many 30 grand cars could you buy for like that Ferrari 458?
Yeah.
And like, my God, how much choice is there?
Yeah. I always think about that. Like, if I won the lottery, I'm buying a barn and filling it with terrible $5,000 like
Just
cars.
don't tell Taylor about it.
I'll spend half the budget on building the barn big enough to store the cars first.
Amazing.
Keeping Taylor out.
Boys, this has been fantastic. I hope it's given my audience and your audience a kind of look in to, because a lot's happened in a year, as we mentioned. It's not even been a year, and a lot has happened in that 9 or 10 months that you've been going. And sometimes you can skirt with the level of retention past the bits that really matter to the audience about you two. So I hope we've kind of given them an insight into that today. Thank you for coming on Road to Success. Please remember to hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoyed this. And should we see if we can force Rory into the back of this?
Yeah, let's do that.
Now, I think we should do that too. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Nice one. Thank you very much.